right, time to talk all things Jets, Thanksgiving week style. A Turkey Day game for the Jets, but they will play on Turkey Day weekend. Matchup with the Atlanta Falcons. We'll get into all of it. We bring in our Jets insider every single week. His name is Jake Asman from the Jake Asman Show and ESPN New York. Today's broadcast brought to you by our friends at Play It Again. Boy Green, quick hello from you, and hello to you, Jake, as well.
What's up, guys? Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you guys having me back on the show.
Good cap, by the way, there, Jake. I know you got all the fits and everything going on. I like the cap. Nice work, pal.
I appreciate it. It takes us back to better days for the Jets when, they had this logo in the rotation and they were winning a lot of games then. So I miss it dearly.
Well, speaking of, we just had the Aaron Glenn presser right before we do our conversation, Jake, and he was channeling former Jets coaches of yours, some Herm Edwards, who you've done many interviews with, Jake, saying, basically you play to win the game when referenced with the question. Brian Costello of the New York Post asked the question, said, I know you're going to hate me for this. And Aaron Glenn jokes that he already hates him. So that was a fun back and forth. But the question was about, hey, fans are saying, hey, look at us. We're 2-9. We're inevitably going to be eliminated from the playoffs. And hey, losing helps the tank, which is draft picks and all that stuff. And AG's long answer, short boiled down to, is you play to win the game. And that's what we mean to do. Any problems or anything of any nature with what AG had to say to that question?
Coaches and players don't tank. Now, the organization could have a calculated way of setting the coaches and the players up to not win, right? Like if Woody
trading Sauce Gardner and Quinton Williams.
I mean, sure, but I was even thinking hey, instead of Tyrod or even Justin Fields, we're demanding you to play Brady Cook at quarterback the last 4 games of the year, right? That could be an organizational way of tanking. But coaches coach, players play, and I think a big thing with Glenn. We could say these games don't matter, and sure, in the grand scheme of things, I could come up with an argument that the Jets losing games here and finishing with the best pick possible is in their best interest. So then maybe you just pick a quarterback and don't have to trade up for one. But if Aaron Glenn gets off to this brutal start next year, these games are still going to count when we reference his record and say, hey, through 2 years, Aaron Glenn has won 10 total games if he finishes with 4 wins this year, and then they go out there and win let's say 6 next year. We're going to say he's got 10 wins through 2 years. So the games still count on the coach's record, which is why they're going to do everything to try and win. We as fans don't have to like it, but that's just the reality and the answer I would expect from Aaron Glenn to give.
Yeah, everything goes into record books, right, Jake? every, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, we'll look at the Jets' records over the years and we'll measure it in some way. So, yeah, I agree. I've never come across a player or a coach who went out with the intent of losing. It's just not in their nature. It's, all of the work that you put in and everything, you're just always going to, try to win the game. I don't think there's any doubt. AG said something else interesting to me in the press conference. He talked about building for the defense, that the defense needs to build on what he saw on the field last week against the Ravens. So talk to me about it. Are you seeing some positive signs here from the Jets defense as he says we need to build on this stuff?
Look, I think there's been clear improvement from the defense, but let's also remember through the first 5 weeks of the year, they were on pace to allow the most points in franchise history. This was a historically bad unit at the beginning of the year. They have played better. That said, they also are still not forcing any turnovers. So they have 1 on the year. It was in London, so they don't have a forced turnover on U.S. soil yet. They have 0 interceptions, which now breaks the record for this late into the year without a pick. They're going to shatter it if you think about it. I think the record is 6, and they don't even have any at this point. So, it's crazy what we have seen in that department all year. They've been better, and yes, they definitely need to play at a higher level down the stretch. I think for Steve Wilkes, their defensive coordinator, to retain his job for another year, but I don't know if I see it. I just think they're still having some issues with communications at times. The tackling was better against the Ravens, but it regressed, I thought, against New England. Overall, it's been better, yes, but I still need to see a lot more before I'm comfortable retaining, the defensive coordinator going forward.
All right, let me just bring up that stat because you were talking about, oh, boy, the lack of takeaways is crazy here. And Diana Rossini put out something. She does her normal weekly Saturday column, but it came out early because of Thanksgiving. And I just saw the stat, and I tweeted out, I'm just trying to enjoy some time with my family. I didn't need this, but here's the stat that came out. Every team in the NFL has at least 6 takeaways this season. Well, except for the Jets. They have only 1 forced turnover. The Broncos fumble in London. That means the Jets haven't forced a turnover on American soil since week 18 of the 2024 season. Like, that is mind-blowing. Every other team in the league has at least 6, and the Jets only have 1. And to your point, no picks, which set a new NFL record. Like, again, we've been talking about this for weeks, Jake, that like, is it the players? Is it the coaches? The coaches or the players? I don't know. No coach team in football history has ever had this happen before. So I have no other choice but to say, is this the worst constructed roster of all time, or is it these coaches just being inept? I lean towards the coaches here, Jake, which is why Steve Wilkes, hey, buddy, I know it's Thanksgiving and the holidays, and God bless, but pack your bags, buddy. You're on your way out of here.
Yeah, I mean, look, they've been better, and I'm not the fire this guy, but I don't know how you could retain him, because the expectations for this defense was they were going to be a pretty good unit. And Steve Wilkes made a comment last week after the Patriot game that they're still having communication issues. I mean, we're in week 12 now, or week 13, whatever it is. You can't for the life of us, continue to justify communication breakdowns, the level of which the Jets are still having. They played well against the Ravens. Let's also acknowledge Lamar Jackson is clearly a compromised player right now. He's not at 100%. If he was, that game is probably a lot different. But I just, again, to me, it's personnel, yes, but it's also scheme, coaching. It's not good enough. And if you want to compare the Jets to the Lions, what Dan Campbell did after his first year, he changed offensive coordinators. I think Aaron Glenn is going to have to recognize what he has here and probably change defensive coordinators going into next year.
The Jets traded, those 2 players away, as we mentioned, at the trade deadline. And much of what we're going to get to see isn't going to come until they start making some of these draft picks and we see what these picks turn into. But there is the one asset, and that is A.D. Mitchell. Let's talk about A.D. I mean, it was struggling a little bit to catch the ball right out of the box. Are you seeing some improvement there? Is he a guy, because the Jets do need a true number 2, or at very worst, a good number 3. Can he inevitably fit into that slot? I know the Jets acquired him with hopes that would be the case.
Yeah, look, I've been impressed with the 2 receivers that they've added, right? Both Mitchell and Mechie. I think they have played really well. I think Mitchell's a guy that if you watch the All-22, he's getting open. He was open a lot on Sunday watching the back against the Ravens, just didn't get the ball every time. And Mechie's been really impressive. They're scheming things open for him as well. So they trust him in that department, that they want him to be a focal part of their offense. He reminds me of Jeremy Curley, for Jet fans who remember the old number 11 that played the slot for the Jets. I mean, look, these guys are young and they're talented. I mean, Mechie is a guy that was a 2nd-round pick that missed his rookie year in Houston because he had leukemia. Then he had an ACL injury. So he's just kind of getting his footing back. You're seeing the talent. And Mitchell was a 2nd-round pick a year ago. He's got the speed, the size. I like what we've seen. If the Jets have to go into the offseason and instead of needing 3 receivers, they only need maybe just that pure number 2 they could get in the draft or a trade or free agency, that's so much better than what we thought we were going to be looking at. So it's been nice to see those guys do what they have done so far. And that's the whole point, I think, of going to Tyrod. You get a much better evaluation on what you already have in-house at that wide receiver spot.
And Tyrod lived up to the billing. He was a better passer than what Justin Fields has been. He had 222 passing yards, which if you look at the last 5 Justin Fields performances, only once did he go past that. That was in the crazy Cleveland Browns game for him, or the Cincinnati Bengals game, one of the 2 for him of finally putting it together. But are you surprised, Jake, that we did not see any Justin Fields packages? How I was traveling back from the Notre Dame trip, which, by the way, was awesome. I highly recommend that for someone who hasn't been to South Bend. That's a bucket list item. But as I was traveling, I got to hear the play-by-play, which I don't always get to hear with all the other content I do on the channel. And the broadcast crew revealed that the Ravens said, "Oh yeah, we're preparing for a Justin Fields package on offense. That we're gonna see that, even though Tyrod's a starter, but we didn't see it." AG was more mum on whether or not we're going to see it or not. I throw that over to you, Jake. While Tyrod as a passer was great, man, some Justin Fields sprinkling. You already owe him the guaranteed money. Why not use him? Are you surprised we didn't see it? Do you expect to see it before the end of the season?
It wouldn't, I guess, shock me if they had something for him. We saw Pittsburgh do that last year with him. I wasn't surprised that we didn't see it Sunday, though. I never, preparing for the game, thought they were going to do something. And then, like you, when they said it during the broadcast, I go, I haven't thought of that. Maybe they could, mix it up and sprinkle that in. I mean, Angstrom did call a play where Breece Hall threw a game-winning touchdown to Mason Taylor this year. So, maybe they will get something like that in the playbook these final couple games here. Maybe part of the reason they also don't want to do that play because they know that both Fields and Tyrod are both injury prone. So, maybe they don't want to risk one of these guys getting hurt, having to go back to the other. Then they get hurt. Brady Cook, if he's not ready, what do you do then? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but I wasn't, I guess, surprised. But now that we're talking about it, yeah, I mean, if you want to try and, break that play out against Atlanta, maybe you do catch them sleeping and you could pick up a big play with that.
Jake, much of, I'm sure, what we're going to talk about over the upcoming weeks with the Jets kind of being out of things record-wise is this idea of what the future brings. I want to talk to you about Quincy Williams and what Quincy Williams and the situation with the Jets. How do you see this playing out, and how important a piece or not so important a piece is he to the Jets?
I don't think he's going to be here, and it's a shame. I just don't think they're going to pay another linebacker who's going to be 30 years old big money. I mean, Sherwood is not as good of a player as Quincy, and Sherwood's making $15-16 million a year now. I don't think they're going to be able to get Quincy to agree to a deal that's not at least at the same number or more. He might do it with a different team, but I don't know if the Jets that could get away with it, if that makes sense. I like Quincy a lot. He's had a really nice couple of games here after you had the weird benching for, I don't even know if it was like a quarter, like it was like a series. He ended up playing more than the guy that supposedly was going to start over him. I like him a lot. He's an energy guy. He plays hard still. I give him credit for that. I just don't necessarily think he's going to be on the team next year.
Now, one of the games we're going to play again, Jake, you've been on this game show before, quarterback roulette. Who will be the next guy for the New York Jets in these Jeopardy sweepstakes? So occasionally during these interviews, I'll throw some random names at you, and this one is just on the mind because that's what we play this week. Captain Kirk Cousins. Do you have any interest in him? I was talking with a Falcons insider earlier this week who says, hey, man, if I had to bet money, I didn't think he would have been on the roster this year based on the Michael Penix stuff. So the fact that he could or could not be on the roster next year, who friggin' knows with what he has left. The Jets need a quarterback for 2026 on top of whatever they do for the draft, and Kirk Cousins is a guy that sometimes can throw the football forward. So Kirk Cousins, any interest in him?
Zero. Old, slow, massive contract, zero interest in Kirk Cousins. Also, he's the guy that used the Jets once upon a time to get even more money, so that always rubbed me the wrong way. I don't want him.
I'll throw one out there just because you brought it up, BG. This wasn't in my prep, but so what? You got me thinking here a little bit. How would you feel about Jameis Winston as a bridge for the Jets if he were available?
Would love Jameis Winston. He was the guy I wanted in the first place this offseason, if for those who were watching my show then. So I've always been a Jameis guy. He's entertaining. He can run an offense. Teammates love him. Good veteran leader at this point. Has no problem mentoring a young quarterback, as we've seen with Dart. I think you can criticize Joe Schoen for a lot. They got that one right, giving Winston a 2-year deal, making it clear he's going to be the backup to Dart for next season because, I mean, if Jameis Winston was a free agent right now, he'd make way more money than I think the $8 million total that he's getting from the Giants over 2 years.
Jake, can you get, you've interviewed a lot of people, and I'm sure, I don't know where they all rank. You did interview Jameis Winston.
I did, yeah.
That was one of the great moments of the Jake Asman show. For our listeners or viewers that may, and Lurch, I know he doesn't know what I'm referencing. So can you shed some more light on that, that conversation? Oh, I believe we have it. So let's go. Okay, here we go then.
Hey, Jameis, would you come to the Jets? They might need a quarterback. Yeah. Jets, Jets. Ladies and gentlemen, our exclusive interview with now friend of the show, Jameis Winston.
I mean, he would have came to the Jets. They didn't make an offer. I tried.
Thank you, Jake, for having that ready. That was impressive on a question you didn't even know was coming. That's pretty good, man.
I had a similar thing. It's so funny, Jake, that little moment. I had a similar thing. I've told this story in the radio days. I'll just quickly repeat it. I covered a boxing match between Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier's daughters. Okay, it was at the Turning Stone, which is only about 40 minutes here from Syracuse in central New York.
I've had some fun nights at Turning Stone. Maybe that's a story for a different podcast.
Yeah, Turning Stone stories.
Wow.
And so I was out covering this event. I was in TV at the time, working for a local ABC affiliate, News Channel 9. And I was on the scene. I was doing live reports, and I was obviously going to be there for the fight and then report at 11 o'clock, a live report on the fight. And they, of course, have the ramp up to the fight, and then they had the red carpets and everything. And the hope was that both Ali and Frazier were going to be there. As it turned out, Muhammad Ali was not there, but I grew up a Joe Frazier fan. Like, and I grew up in New York. I always wanted Frazier to beat Ali. I was a Frazier guy. You either a Frazier guy or an Ali guy. And Joe Frazier came walking down. He was there, and he came walking down the red carpet, and everybody's just trying to get his autograph and yelling at him and stuff. And I wedged myself in right before the door where you go into the place. I'm a reporter. I got my stupid microphone. My photographer's over my shoulder. Like, get in here. I'm going to get Joe Frazier. I want to get Joe Frazier. And he did the same thing. I screamed at him, and he stopped. Like, mysteriously, everyone's screaming at him. I just like, Joe. He just stops dead in his tracks, turns to me, takes 4 steps over, comes right up to me. And he's like, and he just looks at me, and I'm like, Hamna. Like, I was like, holy crap, what's he doing here? And I was like,
wasn't sure it was going to work, right?
Who's going to win the fight? And he goes, my daughter's going to kick Layla Ali's butt. Right. And then he just laughed and walked away. I was like, he walked away. I just looked at the camera. My camera goes, I was like, did that just happen?
Wow.
It was just so wild. It's kind of a similar thing, except Joe Frazier actually came over. It's pretty cool. So that's my one-on-one with Joe Frazier.
Yeah, that's great.
So Jake, make sure when Jameis Winston inevitably gets traded here to the Jets that you're able to get with him and then show him that this was sort of the birth of this union. So you need to take full credit for that, Jake Asman.
I will be all over it to the best of my ability.
Great.
I honestly, I wish they did have Jameis, because at least it'd be more entertaining than what we're seeing. But that's the type of quarterback they need, right? They need someone that could be a bridge until the rookie's ready. And the thing with Cousins, he's old and slow. I need someone younger. The name I would look at is like Gardner Minshew, is the backup with the Chiefs right now. Fun guy, young. Like, when he's had a chance to play before, he's actually had moments where he's looked pretty good. He should have gotten the Colts to the playoffs a few years ago. The year Anthony Richardson's rookie year, he missed most of the season, and they lost to Houston in that win in your in game. I think you can win with him. You can be competent. Someone like that is what I would look at, rather than like an aging old quarterback.
So what is your preferred path? Because, and I get this question from fans all the time, but I don't think it's singular. I don't think it's draft, free agency, or trade, and that's it. I think they're going to, if you're the Jets, you're going to have to whack a couple of different moles here. What is your preferred? Jake, you run the operation. You're attacking the quarterback position this offseason. What are you doing?
I'm drafted a quarterback, number one. I mean, I'm going to try and move up if I have to, within reason. I'm not trading away all 5 of my first to move up, a couple spots here. We'll see where the Jets end up. To me, first and foremost, it's the draft, but it's a combination of multiple things. You're 100% right, Paul. To me, it's drafting the quarterback and also adding maybe 2 new players to that quarterback room, or retaining Tyrod and then adding Minshew and doing what the Giants did with Russell, Winston, and then their quarterback. I want either a brand new room or Tyrod, another vet, and a rookie. Now, things change if this pie in the sky Joe Burrow scenario happens, or a CJ Stroud event, like something crazy like that that's unforeseen. Sure, we could pivot and have the conversation about, is it worth just trading picks to get a guaranteed, proven quarterback? But I'm operating under the premise something crazy like that won't happen. I don't want Kyler Murray. I don't want Trevor Lawrence. To me, I want either Fernando Mendoza, Ty Simpson, or Dante Moore. Those feel like the 3 quarterbacks this year. And whichever ones that Glenn and Muji are comfortable with, let the chips fall where they may. And we'll go from there. You got to get a quarterback.
Talking with our Jets insider, Jake Asman. It's the Manchild Show with Boy Green Digital. Don't forget, pop that subscribe button. We're giving away a Bobby Mercer autographed baseball. If you become a subscriber in next 25-ish or so subscribers, are going to give it away to one of our groups of subscribers. So if you want to win yourself a Bobby Mercer autographed baseball, subscribe right now and you could get in on this free lottery. All right, let me just take 30 seconds. We'll learn a little bit more about our sponsor today, Play It Again Sports. Be right back.
When you don't want to pay full price for sporting goods, and who does, then there's only one place to go in Syracuse. Play It Again Sports. With both new and gently used gear, Play It Again has prices way less than regular retail stores. Another unique aspect of this awesome sporting goods store is that they will give you money for that quality sports gear collecting dust in your basement, attic, or garage. No appointment necessary. Just bring it into the store. Play It Again Sports in the DeWitt Town Center on Erie Boulevard right next to Crunch Fitness. Don't spend more. Play it again. PlayItAgainSportsSyracuse.com.
All right, we are back talking with Jake Asman, our Jets insider. All things Jets here on Thanksgiving week. Let's scout the Jets' opponent. They're taking on the Atlanta Falcons, Jake. This is a Falcons team that to many is a great conundrum this year. Talent oozing out of the pores. I mean, Bijan Robinson. I mean, they have talent on this roster. There's no question about it. But they have not been able to really pull it together. This game is at MetLife. Atlanta is favored by 2.5 points. Let's talk a little bit about this matchup. Kirk Cousins will be at quarterback. Michael Penix obviously out for the rest of the season with the injury. How do you like the matchup for the Jets here?
I actually like the matchup, as crazy as that is. I don't think Atlanta's that great. I don't. Now, I think there could be like a Jeff Ulbrich revenge game factor you got to prepare for. There could be some of that to deal with. Atlanta, they're still technically alive because that NFC South is not great. So like it's essentially a must win for them here in this one if they're going to get back into it. But like Atlanta, to me, look, they got some good players, but Drake London doesn't sound like he's going to play again. He's doubtful, according to Raheem Morris, what he said earlier. So I think based on how the Jets are playing, the defensive improvements, Tyrod giving them more of a pulse in the passing game, it wouldn't shock me if the Jets at home could win this game. To me, you look at the spread, I think it's still like 2.5 on FanDuel, the Jets being a slight home underdog. That's about right. Like this to me feels like a toss-up game that's tight in the fourth quarter. It wouldn't shock me at all if the Jets actually won this one.
AG actually said in the presser that he knows Kirk Cousins well. Obviously, time in Detroit and other places he's been. Does that give the Jets a little bit of a defensive edge against a less mobile these days, certainly Kirk Cousins?
I think the lack of mobility is something to look at, right? I mean, this could be a game where Jermaine Johnson, or this could be a game where Will McDonald hopefully get home and make some noise in the pass rush department because they've been too cold. I mean, they've had moments where they've been great. McDonald had the 4-sack game against Cleveland. They need more consistency there. I think edge is a sneaky need for the Jets. Forget just like more depth, but like a guy that can actually play a lot more snaps there in rotation. But that's a side thing. Yeah, I think the lack of mobility is a good thing for the Jets. And the one thing I would say, though, I mean, part of the reason they signed Justin Fields is because Aaron Glenn knew him well and always went up against him and felt like he was challenging the game plan for. And, Justin Fields got benched because he was horrific. So I don't know if I trust Glenn's acumen on like, oh, I know him well. And that means like the Jets will be prepared. He knew Aaron Rodgers well, too, from all those years in Green Bay. And Rodgers threw 4 touchdowns and lit him up in week 1. So I don't know if that is the best thing for the Jets, but we will see. They certainly are a much improved team right now currently than they were at the beginning of the season.
All right. You mentioned him, Jeff Ulbrich, Jet fans bricked up, all the Jeff Ulbrich action out there in the universe. When I mention the name Jeff Ulbrich, how do you remember Jeff Ulbrich, Jake Asman?
I remember Jeff Ulbrich as a really good defensive coordinator that was completely overmatched when he was the head coach. And look, he didn't hire himself. He also said in his first press conference with the Atlanta Falcons, his biggest regret when they asked him about his experience as the intern with the Jets was not delegating the DC responsibilities to someone on his staff because he felt like it was too much at once to do both. Like he seems like a good dude. I've heard from people he's a really good guy. So I have no ill will towards him. He just was not a good head coach in a tough spot, but I wish him well and I have no ill will towards him. He was a really good DC, just wasn't ready at that time to be a head coach.
AG also mentioned Josh Reynolds is getting close to returning. What, if anything, does he add to the Jets?
He's, I think, better than Lazard, probably better than Tyler Johnson and Arian Smith at this point. So, I mean, we could argue whether or not you should be playing Josh Reynolds over Arian Smith. Let's say you'd rather play probably the rookie, get him reps. But, I think Lazard's at least a professional. He's a good blocker. So maybe it opens some things there in your running game. But, if the Jets need Josh Reynolds to have a chance in games, it kind of speaks volumes on how weak their position group was in the first place, which as much as I like the move of getting Mechie and Mitchell added into that wide receiver room with these trades that they made, it also does verify what myself and many said. They struck out at wide receiver all offseason going into the year with just Garrett Wilson, and that's it. Because immediately they came in and had this huge role on the offense. They've been on the team for 3 weeks. So it kind of highlights the mistakes they made in the offseason, not further addressing wide receiver when they should have.
When Josh Reynolds is the answer to the question, we got to question the question. I just
great point.
Josh Reynolds. Yikes. Let me ask you this. Kyle Pitts, a conundrum. He's about to be a free agent, and Jet fans drooled over him a couple of years ago when there was trade rumors. Is Kyle Pitts good?
I don't think he is. I think he's
all right.
I think he's average. I mean, if you took him in fantasy the last few years, it's like a running bit online that you get screwed. Would I take him depending on the contract? I mean, sure. I don't know if he's like that's my tight end. We're all set. I think he could be like kind of how the Bills have a 2 tight end set. Could be similar. I mean, if they could do that pick over, Atlanta would never make that pick again. I mean, that's obvious. Look at that draft. I mean, they could have had
Jamar Chase.
They had Penei Sewell. I mean, they look at all the great players besides like Pitts and Zach Wilson. Just in like the top, 25 of that draft. Like all the quarterbacks flamed out, but all the position players have been great. So they wouldn't make that pick again. I think he's a good player. He's certainly not generational like he was labeled to be when you take a tight end in the top 5.
Is Azareye'h Thomas a starting corner in the NFL?
I think he is. I want to see more from him. I like the way he plays. I like his physicality. He plays the position with. He just needs reps, right? He had the concussion. He's back now. Let's see how he looks down the stretch. He's someone that if you're looking for positives or young players you would like to see play well, him playing well will be great because that means you don't need to sign another starting corner in free agency or use a top pick in the draft on one. You could go into next year with Brownlee, who's looked good overall, Stevens, who after a shaky start's been a lot better, and then AZ Thomas, who was a third-round pick that many felt probably could have been drafted even higher. So I think he is a starter. I hope that he keeps playing as well as possible because that helps the Jets big time for next year.
Will Jake Asman ever hang a Malachi Moore Jets jersey on a little nail behind you during a Jake Asman show with Pride?
A Malachi Moore jersey?
That's correct. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, you buy me a Malachi Moore jersey and I will hang it up and do a show with it in the background. If that doesn't happen, though, it feels unlikely I will be buying his jersey. But if you buy it for me, I'd be happy to display it for you.
Okay. What a guy. What a guy.
Easy,
Absolutely
easy,
love that. Yeah. And just wrapping up here, Jake, as Thanksgiving holiday is coming up, I want to give you an opportunity because I'm sure you, as we both do daily content and multiple times a day, what's something you're thankful for? The Jake Asman Show obviously has reached unparalleled success. You've been all over ESPN New York. You've got a great family, obviously, and a massive following. So, maybe it'll be hard to pick one thing. But what is something that sort of rings in your brain that you're thankful for this holiday season?
Honestly, I'm just thankful that I get to do what I do every day. As bad as the Jets are, I think about it often. Like, what happens if they're ever good? Like, we've all been able to, build up these communities, this following online, and the team's been terrible. I mean, this is my 5th year doing a daily Jet show, and the best they've been is they were 6-3, 7-4, and then collapsed and finished 7-10. Like, that was the extent of the Jets having any sort of success. And the 5-game winning streak they had in 2022 was the most fun in season it ever was doing the show. So I'm just grateful for the audience, thankful for the audience. They tune in every day to hear about a 2-9 football team, and they keep coming back for more. So it's truly an amazing honor to have such a great community that cares about the show. And, honestly, a lot of times we're not even talking about the Jets on my show. You've been on it. It kind of ventures off into crazy, side storylines with the callers. It's like a Jet fan reality show. So just grateful for the Asmaniac community that supports the show and allows me to, be able to do YouTube full time and then still get a chance to do all the radio stuff I do on a part-time basis.
So let's talk about that as we head out of here. ESPN New York, you're going to be doing some fill-in opportunities, obviously, this week, Jake. On top of everything else you do, set us up with a schedule. What do you got cooking?
Yeah, for anyone in the New York area, I am on the radio tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 with a good friend of BG's. Ty Butler and I are doing the morning show tomorrow from 6 to 10. We're in for DiPietro and Rothenberg. And then Friday, so that's Black Friday, I'm solo from 6 to 10. So definitely want people to call in, chop it up, talking Jets, New York football. We'll do some Yankees and Mets offseason stuff, get into the Knicks. I mean, great slate of games tomorrow, so we'll certainly be covering that on both shows. We got a Black Friday game in the NFL. If you're a college fan, Texas versus Texas A&M is a monster game, and I know that rivalry well, living in Houston for 6 years, and how important it is to people in Texas. So excited to be on, and then we'll still be cranking out some YouTube content as well. So ESPN New York, though, the next 2 mornings.
Good old Ty Butler once came to me for an internship, and I didn't have any spots, so I got him a spot with someone else on our station. Look at what he's done. Amazing. Stay hello to Ty for me. For sure. I missed that guy.
All right, for sure. So, Jake, I want to thank you for joining us, even with the holidays this week. Enjoy it. Let's hopefully we're talking about a Jets win and full bellies after Thanksgiving, pal.
Can't wait. Happy Thanksgiving to you guys. This is always a fun part of the week, and I'll talk to you guys soon.